As director of the Clinic of Charenton, I would like to welcome you to this salon. To one of our residents of votes, of thanks is due, Monsieur de Sade, who wrote and has produced this play for your delectation and for our patients' rehabilitation. We ask your kindly indulgence for a cast never seen before coming to Charenton, but I can assure you each inmate will gladly pull his own weight. We're modern, enlightened, and we don't agree with locking up patients. We prefer therapy through education and especially the arts, so that our hospital may play its part, faithfully following according to our lights, the Declaration of Human Rights. I agree with our author, Monsieur de Sade, that his play, set in our modern bathhouse, won't be marred by all these instruments of mental and physical hygiene. Quite the contrary, they set the scene. For in his play, Monsieur de Sade has tried to show how Jean-Paul Marat died, and how he waited in his bathtub before Charlotte Corday came knocking at his door.
Distinguished visitors, let us go back to the France of 15 years ago. Recall the greatest shock of modern times, those golden victories, those starlit crimes. A force which shattered every institution, that global earthquake, the French Revolution. And none knew a revolution more passionate than Marat. But was he the people's friend? Or freedom's enemy? A writer of books with hope on every page, or the most vicious butcher of his age? Marat, the good or bad? The choice is hard. Let us hear Marat debating with de Sade, two champions wrestling with each other's views. How do we judge the winner? You must choose. Here's Marat, back from the dead. He wears a bandage around his head. His skin is burnt. It is as yellow as cheese, because disfigured by a skin disease. And only water, cooling every limb, prevents his fever from consuming him. To act this most important role, we chose a lucky paranoiac, one of those. And the lady acting as his nurse, whose touch certainly makes him no worse, is Simone Everard, not Charlotte Corday. Simone and Marat united one day. They shared one vision of the just and true, and furthermore, they shared her money, too. And here's Charlotte Corday, waiting for her entry. She comes from Caen, her family landed gentry. Unfortunately, the girl who plays the role here has sleeping sickness, and also melancholia. Our hope should be for this afflicted soul, that she does not forget her role. Ah, and here's Monsieur Dupre, with silken hose and fresh toupee. To the revolution's murderous insanity, he brings a touch of high urbanity. He's handsome, cheerful, and full of zest, and needs more watching than the rest. Jailed for taking a radical view of anything you can think of, the former priest, Jacques Roux. Allied to Marat's revolution, but unfortunately the censors cut most of his rabble-rousing theme. Our moral guardians found it too extreme.
Liberty!
Ladies and gentlemen, our players come from many different social layers. Our singers, for example, of these four, each must be classified as bottom drawer. No longer trapped in the alcoholic mists of slum and gin cellars, our vocalists, Kukuraku, Polpok, Cockle, and on the streets no longer Rossignol. Now, meet this gentleman from high society, who, under the lurid star of notoriety, came to live with us just 5 years ago. And it is to his genius that we owe this show. The former Marquis, Monsieur de Sade. His books were burned, his essays barred, all while persecuted and reviled, thrown into jail, and for some years exiled. The introduction's over, and now the play of Jean-Paul Marat can get underway. The date is July 13th, 1808. And on this evening, our cast intend, showing how night, without end, fell upon that man, that invalid. And you are going to watch him bleed. And watch this woman, after careful thought, take up dagger and cut him short. Homage to Marat!
4 years after the revolution and the old king's execution. 4 years after, remember how the courtiers took their final vow. String up every aristocrat, out with a priest, let them live on their fat. 4 years after we started fighting, Marat keeps on with his writing. 4 years after the Bastille fell, we still recall the old battle yell. Down with all of the ruling class, all the generals out on their ass. Long live the revolution!
Marat, we won't dig our own bloody graves. Marat, we've got to be closed and fed. Marat, we're tired of working like slaves. Marat, we've got to have cheaper bread. We crown you with these leaves, Marat, because of the laurel shortage. The laurels all went to decorate academics, generals, and heads of state. And their heads are enormous!
Good old Marat, by your side we stand appalled. You're the only one that we can trust at all.
Don't scratch your scabs, and they'll never get any better!
4 years he fought, and he fought unafraid, sniffing down the traitors, by traitors betrayed. Marat in the courtroom, Marat underground, sometimes the otter, and sometimes the hound. Marat all the gentry, and fighting every priest, the businessman, the bourgeois, the military beast. Marat always ready to stifle every scheme of the sons of the ass-licking dying regime. We've got new generals, our leaders are new. They sit and they argue, and all that they do is sell their own clothing and ride upon their backs, or kill them, or break them, or give them all the axe. Fighting that no one understands. That we grab with our own bleeding hands when we fuck out the bosses and storm through the wall of the prison. They told us we're our masters all. Marat will pour, and the poor stay poor. Marat don't make us slaves anymore. We want our rights, and we don't care how. We want our revolution. No!
The revolution came and went, and unrest was replaced by discontent.
Who controls the markets? Who locks up the granaries? Who got the loot from the palaces? Who sits tight on the estates that are going to be divided between the poor?
Who keeps us prisoner? Who locks us in?
We're all normal, and we want freedom!
Freedom! Freedom!
patients are so disturbed. Please keep your production under control. After all, times have changed. Times are different. And these days, we must take a subtler view of old differences.
Here sits Marat, the people's choice, dreaming and listening to his fever's voice. You see his hand curled round his pen, and the screams from the streets are all forgotten. He stares down at his map of France, eyes marching from town to town. Corday, 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 Corday! While you wait for this woman to cut him down! None of us can alter the fact, do what we will, that she stands waiting outside of his door, ready and poised to kill!
Poor Marat, in your bathtub, your body soaked, saturated with poison. Poison spurting from your hiding places, poisoning the people, arousing them to looting and murder. I have come, Marat. I, Charlotte Corday from Caen, where a huge army of liberation is amassing. And I come as the first of them, Marat. Once both of us saw the world must go and change as we read in great Rousseau. But change meant one thing to you, I see, and something quite different to me. The very same words we both had spread to give our ideals wings to spread. But my way was true, while for you the highway led over mountains of death. Once both of us spoke a single tongue of brotherly love, we sweetly sung. But love meant one thing to you, I see, and something quite different to me. And now I can see that I was blind, and now I can see into your mind. So now I say no, and I go to murder you, Marat, and free all mankind.
Simone, change my bandages. More cold water. This itching is unbearable.
Jean-Paul, don't scratch yourself. You'll tear your skin to shreds. Give up riding, Jean-Paul. It won't do any good.
Simone, fetch boss, so that I may dictate my call. My 14th of July call to the people of France.
Jean-Paul, please be more careful. Look how red the water's getting.
And what is a bath full of blood compared to the bloodbath still to come? Once we thought a few hundred corpses would be enough. And we saw thousands were still too few, and today we can't even count the dead. Everywhere you look. Everywhere. There they are. Behind the walls. Up on the rooftops, down in the cellars. Hypocrites. They wear the people's caps on their heads, but their underwear is embroidered with crowns. And if so much as the shop gets looted,
They squeal. Beggars, villains, cattle rats. Somehow, I can't breathe. My head is on fire. There is a rioting mob inside of me. I am the revolution!
Today, her first visit.
I have come to speak with Citizen Marat. I have an important message for him from Caen, my home, where his enemies are gathering.
We don't want any visitors. We want a bit of peace. If you have anything to say to Marat, then put it in writing.
What I have to say cannot be said in writing! I want to stand in front of him and look at him. I want to see his body tremble and his forehead bubble with sweat. I want to thrust between his ribs the dagger which I carry between my breasts. I shall take the dagger in both hands and I will push it through his flesh. And then I will hear what he has to say to me!
Not yet, Corday. You must come to his door 3 times. 3 times.
Charlie Corday came to our town, heard the people talking, saw the band of slave. Weariness had almost dragged her down. Weariness had dragged her down. Charlie Corday had to be brave. She could never stay at comfortable hotels. Had to find a man with knives to sell. Had to find a man with knives. Charlotte Corday passed the pretty stores, perfume and cosmetics, powders and wigs. Really went for curing syphilis sores, and you went for curing sores. She saw the dagger, its handle was white, walked into a cutlery seller's store. When she saw the dagger was bright. Charlotte saw the dagger bright. When the man asked her who was it for, it is common knowledge to each one of you. Charlotte smiled and paid him 40 sous. Charlotte smiled and paid 40 sous. Don't soil your pretty little shoes. The gutter's deep and red. Climb up, and ride along with me. The Sombra driver said, but she never said a word. Never turned her head. Don't soil your pretty little pants. I only go one way. Climb up, and ride along with me. There's no gold coach today. But she never said a word. Never turned her head.
What kind of town is this? The sun can barely pierce the haze. Not a haze made of rain and fog, but steaming, thick, and hot like the mist in a slaughterhouse. Why are they howling? What are they dragging through the streets? They carry stakes. But what's impaled on those stakes? Why do the children scream? What are these heaps they fight over? These heaps with eyes and mouths. What kind of town around me, and their eyes and mouths will call me to join them.
Now it's happening, and you can't stop it happening. The people used to suffer everything, now take their revenge. You are watching that revenge, and you don't remember that you drove them into it? Now you protest, but it's too late to stop crying over spilled blood. What is the blood of these aristocrats compared to the blood the people shed for you? Many of them had their throats slit by your gangs. Many of them died more slowly in your workshops. So, what is this sacrifice compared to the sacrifices the people made to keep you fat? What are a few looted mansions compared to their looted lives? You don't care if the foreign armies with whom you're making secret deals with bloodshed and massacre the people. You hope the people will be wiped out so that you may flourish. And when they are wiped out, not a muscle will twitch in your puppy bourgeois faces, which are now all twisted up with anger and disgust.
Monsieur de Sade, we really cannot allow this. You really cannot call this education. It isn't making the patients any better. They're all becoming overexcited. After all, we invited the public here to show them our patients are not all social lepers.
We only show these people massacred because this indisputably occurred. Please, calmly watch these barbarous displays, which couldn't happen nowadays. The men of those times, now mostly demised, were primitive. We are more civilized.
Look at them, Marat. These men and women who once owned everything. See how they turn their defeat into victory. Now that their pleasures have been taken away, the guillotine saves them from endless boredom. Gaily they offer their heads as if for coronation. Is that not the pinnacle of perversion?
I read in your books, Toussaint, in one of your immortal works, that the basis of all life is death.
Oh, correct, Marat. Yes, correct. But man has given a false importance to death. See, every animal, plant, man who dies simply adds to nature's compost heap, becomes the manure without which nothing could grow, nothing could be created. Every death is simply part of the process. And any death, even the cruelest death, would drown in the total indifference of nature. Nature herself would watch unmoved if we destroyed the entire human race. I hate nature. This passionless spectator, this unbreakable iceberg face, it can bear anything. And it goads us to greater and greater acts, haven't we? Haven't we always beaten down those weaker than ourselves? Haven't we torn at their throats with continuous villainy and lust? Haven't we experimented in our laboratories before applying the final solution? Let me remind you of the execution of Damiens after his unsuccessful attempt to assassinate Louis XV. Remember how Damiens died? How gentle the guillotine is compared with his torture? It lasted 4 hours while the crowd goggled and Casanova at another window felt under the skirts of the ladies watching. His chest, arms, calves, thighs, they were all slit open. Molten lead was poured into each slit. Burning oil they poured over him. Burning wax, sulfur. They burnt off his hands. They tied ropes to his arms and legs. They harnessed 4 horses to him, and they geared them up. They pulled at him for an hour, but they'd never done it before, so he wouldn't come apart, until they sawed through his shoulders and his hips. And so he lost the first arm, and then the second. And he watched what they did to him, and he turned to us, and he screamed. Just so everyone could understand. And then he lost the first leg, and then the second leg. And he still lived, though his voice was getting weak. And at the end, he hung there, a bloody torso, with a nodding head, staring at the crucifix which the Father Confessor was holding up to him. Oh, that was a festival with which today's festivals cannot compete. Even our Inquisition gives us no pleasure nowadays. There's no passion in these post-revolutionary murders. Now they're all official, you know. We condemn to death without emotion. And there's no singular personal death to be had. Only an anonymous, cheapened death, which we dole out to entire nations on a mathematical basis. Till the time comes for all life on earth to be extinguished.
Citizen Marquis, you may have fought with us last September when we dragged out of the jails the aristocrats who plotted against us. But you still talk like a grand seigneur in what you call the indifference of nature. It was your own lack of compassion.
Compassion? Compassion. Marat, now you are talking like an aristocrat. You see, compassion is the property of the privileged class. When the pitier lowers himself to the beggar, he throbs with content. To protect his riches, he pretends to be moved, but his gift to the beggar amounts to no more than a kick. No, Marat, no small emotions, please. Your feelings were never pretty, no, for you just as for me. Only the most extreme actions matter.
If I am extreme, I'm not extreme in the same way as you. Against nature's silence, I use action. In the vast indifference, I invent a meaning. I don't watch unmoved. I intervene, and I say that this and this are wrong, and I work to alter and improve them. The important thing is to pick yourself up by your own hair. Turn yourself inside out. And see the whole world with fresh eyes.
Ahem. Marat's liturgy.
Remember how it used to be? The kings were our dear fathers, under whose care we lived in peace.
Kings were our dear fathers, under whose care we lived in peace.
Their deeds were glorified by official poets.
Under whose care we lived in peace.
Piously the sensible-minded breadwinners passed on the lesson to their children. And the children repeated the lesson. They believed it, as anyone believes what they hear over and over again. And the priests looked down into the pit of injustice and turned their faces away and said, "Suffer! Suffer as he suffered on the cross, for it is the will of God." And anyone believes what they hear over and over again. To the poor instead of bread made do with the picture of the bleeding scourges and nailed up Christ. And the priest said, "Raise your hands to the heaven, bend your knees, and bear your suffering without complaint. Pray for those who torture you, for prayer and blessing are the only stairways which you can climb to paradise." So they chained down the poor in their ignorance, so that they wouldn't stand up and fight their bosses, who ruled in the name of the lie of divine right.
Monsieur de Sade, I must interrupt this argument. We agreed to make several cuts in this passage. After all, nobody now objects to the church, since our emperor has surrounded himself with high-ranking clergy. And since it's been proven over and over again, the poor need the spiritual comfort of the priests. There's no question of oppression. Everything is done to relieve suffering, with clothing drives, medical aid, and soup kitchens. And this very clinic we're dependent not only on the goodwill of the temporal government, but on the kindness and understanding of the church.
If our performance causes aggravation, swallow down your indignation. Remember that we only show things which happened long ago. Things were very different then. Of course, today we're all God-fearing men.
Yes. Before deciding what is wrong and what is right, we must first find out what we are. I do not know myself. No sooner have I discovered something than I begin to doubt it, and I have to destroy it again. You see, what we do is just a shadow of what we want to do. And the only truths we can point to are the ever-changing truths of our own experience. I do not know if I am hangman or victim, for I imagine the most horrible tortures. And as I describe them, I suffer them myself. There is nothing I cannot do, and everything fills me with horror. And I begin to see other people also suddenly turn themselves into strangers who are driven to unpredictable acts. A little while ago, I saw my tailor. He was a gentle, cultured man. He liked to talk philosophy. And I saw him foam at the mouth, and raging and screaming, attack with a cudgel a man from Switzerland, a large man, heavily armed, and destroy him utterly. He tore open the breast of this defeated man, and I saw with my own eyes. He took out his still beating heart, and he swallowed it whole.
Man's a mad animal. I'm 1,000 years old, and in my time, I've helped commit 1,000,000 murders. The earth is spread. The earth is spread thick with squashed human guts. We few survivors! We few survivors! Walk over a quaking bog of corpses. Under our feet, every step we take, rotted bones, ashes, matted hair. Under our feet, broken teeth, skull split. A mad animal. I'm a mad animal. Prisons don't help. Chains don't help. I escape through all the walls. All the shit. Splintered bones. See ya one day. I'm not through yet. I have plans. Oh, this itching. Oh, this itching. This fever.
This fever beats in my head like a drum. My skin simmers and scorches. Someone dip the cloth in vinegar and water, cool my forehead.
Marat, I know that you'd give up your fame and all the love of the people for a few days' health. You lie in your bath as if you were in the pink waters of the womb. You swim all huddled up, alone with your ideas about the world which no longer fit the world outside. And why? Why should you care about the world outside? You see, for me, the only reality is my imagination. The world inside myself. This revolution no longer interests me.
Wrong, sod, wrong. Restless ideas can break down walls. I never believed that him alone could destroy institutions. However hard we try to bring in the new, it only comes into being in the midst of clumsy details. We're all so full of dead ideas that even the best of us don't know the way out. We invented the revolution, but we don't know how to run it. Everyone wants to keep something from the past. A souvenir of the old regime. This man wants to keep his painting. This man his horse. This man his mistress. He keeps his garden. He keeps his country home. He keeps his estate. He keeps his factories. This man couldn't part the shipyards. This one kept his army, and that one is king. And so we stand here and we write in the Declaration of the Rights of Man the holy right of property. And then we find where that leads. Every man equally free to fight. Fraternally and with equal arms, of course. Man against man, group against group, in happy mutual robbery. We stand here more oppressed than when we began. And they think the revolution's been won.
Why have they got the cash? Why have they got the power? Why? Have they got the friends at the top? Why have they got the jobs at the top? We've got nothing, always had nothing, nothing but holes and millions of them. Living in holes, dying in holes, holes in our bellies.
And holes in our clothes.
Mara, we're poor, and the poor stay poor. Mara, don't make us wait anymore. We want our rights, and we don't care how. We want our revolution
Observe how easily a crowd turns mob through ignorance of its wise ruler's job. Rather than bang the empty drum of protest, citizens be dumb and trust and serve the powerful few. What's best for them is best for you. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to see people and government in harmony. A harmony which I should say we've very nearly reached today. And now, nobility meets grace. Our author brings them face to face. The beautiful and brave Charlotte Corday and the handsome Monsieur Dupre. In Cannes, she spent the better years of her life in a convent devoted to the ways of truth. And Dupre was a name they'd oft recommend as a most sympathetic and helpful friend. Confine your passions to the lady's mind. Your love's platonic, not the other kind.
Ah, dearest Dupre, what can we do? How can we stop this dreadful calamity? In the streets, everyone says Marat's to be tribune and dictator. He pretends that his iron grip will relax as soon as the worst is over. But we all know what Marat really wants. Anarchy and confusion.
Dear Charlotte, you must return. Return to your friends, the pious nuns, and live in prayer and contemplation. You cannot fight the hard-faced enemies surrounding us. You talk of Marat, but who's this Marat? A street salesman, a funfair barker, a layabout from Corsica. Sorry, I mean Sardinia. But who listens to him? Only the mob down in the street. Up here, Marat can be no harm to us.
Dearest Duperret, you are trying to test me, but I know what I must do. Duperret, go to Caen. Help is waiting for you there. Go and travel quickly. Do not wait for this evening. For this evening, everything will be too late.
Dearest Charlotte, my place is here. How can I leave the city which holds you? Dearest Charlotte, my place is here.
And why should I run?
And why should I run? Now when it can't last much longer. Already the English lie off Dunkirk and Toulon. The Prussians,
The Spaniards!
the Spaniards have occupied Roussillon.
Mayence!
Is surrounded by the Prussians. Conde and Valenciennes have fallen to the English.
The Austrians!
To the Austrians! The Vendy is up in arms. They can't hold out much longer. These fanatical upstarts with no culture and no vision. No, they can't hold out much longer. No, dear Charlotte. Here I stay, waiting for the promised day when Marat's mob interred and France once more speaks the forbidden word. Freedom!
You hear that, Marat? Freedom!
Freedom!
Yes, they all say they want what's best for France. My patriotism is bigger than yours. Radical or moderate, they're all willing to die for the honor of France. They're after the taste of blood. These lukewarm liberals and these angry radicals. They all believe in the greatness of France. Marat, can't you see that this patriotism is lunacy? Long ago, I left heroics to the heroes. And I care no more for this country any more than any other country.
Long live Napoleon and the nation.
Long live Emperor, Kings, Bishops, and Popes.
Long live the watery broth and the straitjacket.
Long live Marat!
Yes. You see how easy it is to get mass movements going, movements that move in vicious circles. I don't believe in idealists charging down blind alleys. I don't believe in any of the sacrifices made in the name of any cause. I only believe in myself.
I believe in that one thing which you betray. We've overthrown our wealthy rabble of rulers, disarmed many of them, though many escaped. But now those rulers have been replaced by others who used to carry torches and banners with us, and now long for the good old days. It becomes clear. The revolution was fought for merchants and shopkeepers, the bourgeoisie, and underneath them, ourselves, who always lose the lottery.
Though our fat monkeys covered in banknotes, our champagne and brandy on top. They're up to their eyeballs in franc notes. We're up to our noses in crap. Those gorilla mouth figures are longing to see us all rot. The gentry may lose a few acres, but we lose our little we've got. Revolution is more like a ruin. They're all stuffed with glorious food. They think about nothing but screwing, but we're the ones who got screwed.
Pick up your arms! Fight for your rights! Grab what you need and grab it now, or wait 100 years and see what the authorities have arranged. Up there they despise you because you never had the cash to learn to read or write. You're good enough for the dirty work of the revolution, but they screw their noses up at you because your sweat stinks. Sit way down there. Down there in ignorance and stink, you're allowed to do your bit towards bringing in the golden age in which you'll do the same old dirty work. Up there in the sunlight, the poets sing about the power of life and the expensive rooms in which they scheme hung with expensive paintings. So stand up! Stand up! Stand in front of them and let them see how many of you there are!
Do we really have to listen to this sort of thing? We are citizens of a new, enlightened age. We're all revolutionaries nowadays. But this plain treachery, we can't allow it.
The cleric you've been listening to is that notorious priest, Jacques Roux, who, to adopt the new religious fashion, has quit the pulpit and with earthier passion rages from soapboxes, a well-trained priest. His rhetoric is slick, to say the least. If yours are made paradise, your only chance is not to build in the clouds, but solid France. The crowd eats from his hand, but Jacques Roux knows what he wants, but not what to do. Talk is cheap, the price of action colossal. So Roux becomes the chief apostle of Jean-Paul Marat. Seems good strategy, since Marat's headed straight for the cavalry. And crucifixion, all good Christians know, is the most sympathetic way to go.
We demand the opening of the granaries to feed the poor. We demand the public ownership of workshops and factories. We demand the conversion of churches into schools so that at last something useful can be taught to them. We demand that everyone should do all they can to put an end to the war, this damned war, which is run for the benefit of the profiteers and leads only to more wars. We demand that the people who started the war should pay for the cost of it once and for all. The idea of glorious victories won by glorious armies must be wiped out. Neither side is glorious. On either side, they're just frightened men messing their pants, and they all want the same thing, not to lie under the earth, but to walk upon it without crutches.
This is outright defeatism! At this very moment, our men are laying down their lives for the freedom of the world, and for our freedom!
This scene was cut!
Bravo, Jacques Roux.
Your hour has come. Now, Marat, show yourself. Come out and lead the people. They are waiting for you. It must be now, for the revolution which burns up everything in blinding brightness will only last as long as a lightning flash.
You see, Marat, today they need you because you're going to suffer for them. They need you, and they will honor that urn which holds your ashes. However, tomorrow they will come back, and they will smash that urn, and they will ask Marat, who is this Marat? And now I will tell you what I think of this revolution which I helped make. As I lay in the Bastille, my ideas were already formed. In prison, I created in my mind monstrous representations of a dying class who could only exercise their power in spectacularly staged orgies. I recorded the mechanics of their atrocities in minute detail. And I brought out everything that was wicked and brutal that lay inside of me in a criminal society. I dug the criminal out of myself so I could understand him, and so better understand the world we live in. My imaginary giants, they committed desecrations and tortures, and I committed them myself. And like them, allowed myself to be bound and beaten. And even now, I should like to take this beauty here, who stands so expectantly, and allow her to beat me while I talk to you of the revolution. At first, I saw in the revolution a chance for a tremendous outburst of revenge, an orgy greater than all my dreams. But then, as I sat in the courtroom myself, not as I had been before a prisoner, but as a judge, I couldn't bring myself to deliver the prisoners to the hangman. I did all I could to let them go, help them escape. I saw I wasn't capable of murder, although murder was the final proof of my existence. And now the very thought of it horrifies me. And all my prophecies began to come true. I saw women running in the streets, holding in their dripping hands the severed genitals of men. And in the next few months, the tumbrils ran regularly to the scaffolds, and the blade was dropped and then winced up and then dropped again. And all this meaning drained out of our revenge. It became mechanical and inhuman and dull and curiously technocratic. And now, Marat, now I know where this revolution is heading. To the withering of the individual man. To a slow merging into uniformity. To the death of choice. To self-denial. To deadly weakness in a state which has no contact with the individual, but which is impenetrable. So I turn away. See, I'm one of those who needs to be defeated, and from this defeat I will seize all that I can get with my own strength. I step out of my place and watch what happens without joining in, observing, noting down my observations, and all around me, stillness. And when I vanish, I want all trace of my existence to be wiped out.
Simone, why is it getting so dark? Give me a fresh rag for my forehead. Put a new towel on my shoulders. I don't know if I'm freezing or burning to death. Simone, fetch bars so that I may dictate my call. My 14th of July call to the people of France. Simone, where are my papers? I saw them only a moment ago. Why is it so dark? Where's the ink? Where is my pen?
Here's your ink, Jean-Paul, and here's your pen. Where it always is. That was only a cloud that covered the sun. Or perhaps smoke. They're burning the corpses.
Poor old marat, they hunt you down. The bloodhounds are sniffing all over the town. Just yesterday, your printing press was smashed. Now they're asking your home address. Poor old marat, in you we trust. You work till your eyes turn as red as rust. No wild and right, they're on your track. The boots now, the staircase and the door. The back. Poor old marat, they hunt you down. The bloodhounds are sniffing all over the town. Poor old marat, we trust in you.
Now that these painful matters have been clarified, let's take a look on the sunny side. Recall this couple and their love so pure. She, with her neatly groomed coiffure, her face intriguingly pale and clear, and her eyes ashine with a trace of a tear. Her lips, so sensuous and ripe, seem to silently call out for protection, and his embraces, proving his affection. See how he moves with such natural grace, and his heart races on at passion's pace. Let us gaze upon the sweet blending of the strong and fair sex, before both their heads are lopped off their necks.
One day it shall come to pass. The man will live in harmony with himself and his fellow man.
One day it shall come to pass. A society which will pool its energy to defend and protect each person for the possession of each person. And in which every individual, although united with the rest, only obeys himself and so stays free.
One day it shall come to pass. A society in which every man is vested with the right of governing himself.
A constitution in which the natural inequalities of men are subject to a higher order, so that all, however varied their physical or mental powers may be, by agreement, legally get their fair share.
Don't think that you can beat them without using force. Don't be deceived. When our revolution's finally been stamped out and they tell you things are better now, even if there's no poverty to be seen because the poverty's been hidden, even if you even got more wages and could afford to buy more of these new and useless goods that these new industrialists foist upon you, and even if it seems to you that you never had so much, that is only the slogans of those who still have much more than you. Don't be taken in when they pat you paternally on the shoulder and say that there's no more inequality worth speaking of and no more reason for fighting. Because if you believe them, they will be completely in charge within their marble homes and granite banks from which they rob the people of the world under the pretense of bringing them freedom. Watch out. Or as soon as it pleases them, they will send you out to protect their golden wars, whose weapons, rapidly developed by servile scientists, will become more and more deadly, until, with the flick of a finger, they'll tear 1 million of you to pieces.
lying there, scratched, swollen, your brow burning, in your bath, in your world. You still believe that justice is possible. You still believe that all men are equal. You still believe that every occupation is equally valuable, equally satisfying, and that no man wants to be greater than any of the others. Wait, how does the old song go? One always bakes the most delicious cakes. 2 is the really superb monsieur. 3 sets your hair with exceptional flair. 4's brandy goes to the emperor. 5 knows each trick of advanced rhetoric. 6 spread a beautiful brand new rose. 7 can cook every dish in the book. And 8 does you flawlessly elegant clothes. Do you think these 8 would be happy if they could climb high and no higher before bumping their heads on equality? Oh, if only each could be a small link in a long and heavy chain. You still think it's possible to unite mankind when already you see how the few idealists who have joined together in the name of harmony are now so out of tune they would like to kill each other over trifles?
But they aren't trifles, they are matters of principle. And it's usual in a revolution for the half-hearted and fellow travelers to be dropped. We can't begin to build till we burnt the old building down. However dreadful that may seem to those who lounge in their make-believe contentment and wear their scruples as protective clothing. Listen, do you hear through the walls how they plot and whisper? You see how they look everywhere, waiting for their chance to strike?
What has gone wrong with these men who are ruling? I'd like to know who they think they are fooling. They told us that torture was over and gone, but everyone knows the same torture goes on. The king's gone away, the priests are migrating, the nobles are buried, so why are we waiting?
Now, Charlotte Corday stands outside Marat's front door, the second time she's tried.
I have come to deliver this letter, in which I ask to be received by Citizen Marat. I am unhappy, and therefore I have a right to his aid. I have a right to his aid!
Who's at the door, Simone?
A girl from Caen with a letter, a petitioner.
I won't let anyone in. They only bring us trouble. All these people with their convulsions and complaints. As if you've nothing better to do than be their doctor! Or lawyer or confessor!
See, that's how it is. That's how she sees your revolution, Marat. The people have a toothache, so their teeth must be pulled. Their soup is burnt, so they shout for better soup. A woman finds her husband too short, she wants a taller one. A man finds his wife too skinny, he wants a plumper one. A man's shoes pinch. Oh, but his neighbor's shoes, they fit perfectly. A poet runs out of poetry and he desperately grasps for new images. And all day long a fisherman casts his line. Why? Why aren't the fish biting? So, they join the revolution, thinking that this revolution will give them everything, a poem, a fish, a new pair of shoes, a new husband, a new wife, and the best soup in the world. So they gather together, and they charge all the citadels, and there they are! And everything is exactly the same. No fish biting. Their verses are botched. Their shoes pinch. They have a worn and stinking partner in bed. Their soup is burnt. And all that heroism which drove us deep down into the sewers. Well, I suppose that's a story for our grandchildren. If we ever even have any grandchildren.
Marat, it's all in vain. You studied the body, you probed the brain. In vain you spent your energies. For how can Marat cure his own disease? Marat, where is your path? Or is it not visible from your bath? Your enemies are closing in. Without you the people can never win. Marat, can you explain how once in daylight your thoughts seem plain? Or how your thoughts lie in shadows, now night has come.
They are coming. Listen to them and look carefully at these gathering figures. Listen closely. Watch. Yes, I hear you. All the voices I ever heard. Yes, I see you. All the old faces.
Ladies and gentlemen, silence, I pray. Let's hear what these people are aching to say about that man who they've all understood before they bury him for good.
Even as a child, this Marat made groups of friends rush screaming at each other. They fought with wooden swords, but real blood flowed, and they took prisoners and bound and tortured them, and nobody knew why. Wouldn't eat his food, laid around for days saying nothing, broke a lot of canes on his hide, we did, locked him in the cellar, of course, but nothing helped. There was no getting at him.
When I bit him, he bit me back. His own father! And when I threw him down, he pulled himself up. But when I spat at him, he just lay there, stiff as a poker, cold as ice.
I see you! Ancient father, ancient mother, yes, I hear you! Why do you laugh like executioners?
Jean-Paul, you're feverish. Give a Briding, Jean-Paul, or it'll kill you. Lie still, you must be more careful.
I'm not feverish now, I see clearly. Those figures were always hallucinations. Simone, why doesn't Boss come? It is urgent, my call.
At the age of 5, this loudmouth boasted, I can do anything teacher can do. And, what's more, I know more. And at the age of 15, I've conquered the universities and outdone all the professors. And at the age of 20, I've mastered the entire intellectual cosmos. That's what he boasted, as true as I stand here.
Where are my own manuscripts?
Leave all that, it will only bring you trouble.
I want to see them, look for them, bring them to me.
Scribblings of a pickpocket, pilfered thoughts, frivolities, tirades.
Just look at him, the charlatan. Greedy for titles and court distinctions, who turned on those he once flattered, only because they would not recognize him.
What was he doing in London, this shady Marat? Wasn't he a dandy in the highest society who had to run away because he was caught red-handed, embezzling and stealing? And didn't he smuggle himself back into certain well-born circles? And didn't we see him out and about with aristocrats? And on top of that, enjoying the favors of certain well-born ladies? And when it lost, they let him drop back to his kind, the simple poor. And when he spoke and couldn't stop each word from branding him a bore, and when they found he was a quack with water drugs and pills of chalk, And when they threw him on his back, he raised his battered head to squawk, "Property is robbery! Down with all the tyrants!" No wonder that the author sits there in his bath, attempting to determine the validity of the proposition. The more you itch, the more you
Woe to the man who is different, who tries to break down all the barriers. Woe to the man who tries to stretch the imagination of man. He shall be mocked. He shall be scorched by all the blinkered guardians of morality. You wanted enlightenment and warmth. And so you studied light and heat. You wondered how many forces could be controlled. So you studied electricity. You wanted to know what man is for. So you asked yourself, what is the soul? This dump of hollow ideals and mangled morals. And you decided that the soul is in the brain and that it can learn to think, for to you, the soul is a practical thing, a tool for ruling and mastering life. And you came one day to the revolution because you saw the most important vision, that our circumstances must be changed fundamentally, and without changing everything we do must fail. Everything we do must fail. Everything we do must fail.
But before we witness the crime, let's interpose a drinking, thinking time. And recall that what our cast presents is simply this, a series of events. And the end, which might seem prearranged, could easily be delayed or even changed. Since it's a play and not actual history, we'll postpone it with an interval. We guarantee that after your refreshments and debating, you'll find Marat still in his bathtub waiting. Here sits Marat, in his bathtub confined, but politicians are flooding into his mind. He speaks to them his last polemic fight of who should be tribune. It is almost night.
Down with Marat!
Don't let him speak!
Listen to him, he's got the right to speak!
Long live Marat!
Fellow citizens, members of the National Assembly, our country is in danger. From every corner of Europe, armies invade us, led by profiteers who want to strangle us and already quarrel over the spoils. And what are we doing? Our Minister of War, whose integrity you've never doubted, has sold the corn meant for our armies to feed the troops who are invading us.
Guys.
Throw him out!
The chief of our army, Dumouriez,
Bravo!
Long live
against whom I warned
Dumouriez!
you continually and whom you recently hailed as a hero, has gone over to the enemy.
Shame. Liar.
Most of our generals who wear our uniforms are sympathetic with the emigres, and when the emigres return, our generals will be out to welcome them.
Execute. Down with Marat!
Bravo!
And I'm told that Perigot, our most intelligent banker, is in league with the English, and in his armored vaults is organizing a center of espionage against us.
That's enough! The names which were dragged through the gutter then have been deservedly rehabilitated.
by the command of the Emperor.
Go on!
Shut his mouth.
Don't shut him up.
Our country is in danger. We talk about France, but who's France for? We talk about freedom, but who's this freedom for? Members of the National Assembly, you will never shake off the past. You'll never understand the great upheaval in which you find yourselves. Why aren't there thousands of public seats in this assembly, so those who want can hear what's being discussed?
What's he trying to do? He's trying to rouse the people again. But look who sits on the public benches. Knitting women, concierges, and washerwomen with no one to employ them anymore. And who's it he got on his side? Pickpockets, layabouts, parasites. That loiter about the boulevards and hang around the cafes.
I wish we could.
Released prisoners, escaped lunatics. Does he want to rule the country with these?
You are liars! You hate the people.
Well done, Marat!
You'll never stop talking of the people as a rough and formless mass. Why? Because you live apart from them. You let yourselves be dragged into this revolution knowing nothing of its principles.
Shame.
Long live
That's
Marat.
enough! If you continue to use any of these passages we agreed to cut, I will stop your play!
What we need now is a true deputy of the people. One who's incorruptible, one we can trust. Things are breaking down. Things are chaotic. That is good. That's the first step. Now we must take the next step and choose a man who will rule for you.
Marat for dictator!
Marat in his bathtub!
Send him down the sewers.
Dictator of the rats.
Dictator. The word must be abolished. I hate anything to do with masters or slaves. I'm talking about a man who in this hour of crisis...
He's trying to incite them to new murders.
We do not murder. We kill in self-defense. We are fighting for our lives.
Oh, if only we could have constructive thought instead of agitation. If only beauty and concord could once more replace hysteria and fanaticism.
Look what's happening! Join together! Cast down your enemies! Disarm them! For if they win, they will spare not one of you! And all you have won so far will be lost!
A laurel wreath for Marat!
Down with Marat!
Down with him!
A victory parade!
Long live the streets! Long live the lampposts! Long live the bakery stuff!
Long live freedom!
Hit the rich until they crash!
Down with their gods and divide their cash!
He wouldn't mind a tasty
Oh,
meal.
pate de foie and filleted eel.
Marat! 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 Marat!
Oh, Marat, when your bathtub seat, your life on this planet is near complete. Closer and closer to you, death creeps, for there on her bed Charlotte Corday sleeps. Poor Marat, if she slept too late, while dreaming of fairy tale heads of state, maybe your sickness would disappear. Charlotte Corday would not find you here. Poor Marat, stay wide awake and be on your guard for the evil's sake. Stare through the fading evening light, for this is the evening before the night.
Marat, can you really call this living? In your bath, in your mortification?
Simone, fetch boss, so that I may dictate my call. My call to the people of France.
Why all these calls to the nation? It's too late, Marat. Forget your call. Contains only lies. And what do you still want from this revolution? Where is it going? Look at all these poor, lost revolutionaries. What will you order them to do? Where will you lead them? Once you attacked the authorities who use the law as instruments of oppression. Would you have somebody rule you, control what you write, tell you what work you must do, and repeat to you the new laws over and over again until you can recite them in your sleep?
Why is everything so confused now? Everything I once wrote or spoke was considered and true. Each argument was sound. And now, doubt? Why does everything sound false?
Corday.
Corday.
Corday. Corday. Corday.
Charlotte! Wake up! Charlotte, you have an appointment to keep. There is no more time for you to sleep. Charlotte Corday, awake and stand. Take your dagger in your hand. Come on, Charlotte, do your deed. Soon you'll get all the sleep you need.
Now I know what it is like when the head is cut off the body. Oh, this moment. Hands tied behind the back, feet bound, neck bare, hair cut off, head, all knees on the boards, head already through the metal slot, looking into the dripping basket. Sound of the rising blade. And from its edge, the blood still drops. And then the downward slide to split us in two. They say the head held high in the executioner's hand still lives. The eyes still see. And the down below. The arms and the legs still shudder.
Charlotte, awaken from your nightmare. Wake up, Charlotte. Charlotte, wake up. And look at the trees. Look at the rose-colored evening sky. And look at your lovely bosom heaves. Forget your worries. Abandon each care. And breathe in the warmth of the summertime air. What are you hiding, Charlotte? Dagger? Charlotte, throw it away.
We must all carry weapons in self-defense nowadays.
No one will attack you, Charlotte.
In my room in Caen, under the window on the table, lies open the book of Judith. Dressed in her legendary beauty, she entered the tent of the enemy and slew him with a single blow.
What are you planning, Charlotte?
What kind of streets are these? Our prisons are crowded with our friends. I was among them just now in my sleep. They stand huddled together by the windows. They stand listening to the guards talk of executions, listen to people talk of gardeners, talk of leaves for burning. Their names are crossed off the list. And as the names on the list get shorter, more names are added to the bottom. And I stood with them just now. We waited for our names to be called.
Let us return together. This very evening.
What kind of town is this? I saw peddlers at every street corner selling tiny guillotines with sharp little blades and little dolls filled with red liquid which spurts from the neck when the sentence is carried out. What kind of children play so efficiently with these toys? And who is judging? Who is judging?
What do you want at that door? Do you know who lives here?
The man for whose sake I have come here.
What do you want with him? back, Charlotte.
Go. I have a plan which I must carry out. Leave me alone!
Now, for the third time, we observed the girl whose job it is to serve as Charlotte Corday, standing once more, waiting outside Marat's front door. You see Dupre, before her languish, prostrated by their parting's anguish. What has happened cannot be undone, although it may be wished by everyone. We tried restraining her with peaceful sleep, and with claims to a passion still more deep. Simone, as best she could, she tried, but this girl here would not be turned aside. That man is forgotten, and we can do nothing more, for Corday is focused on this man.
No! I am right, and I will say it once more. Simone, fetch boss so that I may dictate my call. My 14th of July call to the people of France.
Marat, what are all your speeches and pamphlets compared with her? Marat, she stands there, and she will come to you to kiss you and embrace you. Marat, an untouched virgin stands before you, offering herself to you. See how she smiles, how her teeth shine, how she tousles her hair. Marat, forget the rest. There's nothing else beyond the bottom. She stands there, her breast naked underneath that thin cloth, and perhaps she carries a knife to intensify the love play.
Who's at the door, Simone?
A maiden from the rural desert of a convent. Imagine those poor girls lying on the hard floors while the heated winds from the fields forces its way to them through the barred windows. Imagine them lying there with moist thighs and breasts, dreaming of those who control life in the outside world. And then she grew tired of her isolation, and she was stirred up by the new age and gathered up in a great tide, and she wanted to be a part of the revolution. And what's the point of a revolution without general copulation?
And what's the point of a revolution without general copulation?
As I lay in the Bastille for 13 long years, I learned this world is of bodies, each body pulsating with a terrible power, each body alone and racked with its own unrest. In this isolation, marooned in a stone sea, I heard lips whispering continually, and all the time felt in the palms of my hands and in my skin touching and stroking. Shut behind bolted doors, my feet fettered, and I dreamed only of the orifices of the body, put there so that one may hook and twine oneself within. Marat, these cells of the inner self are worse than the deepest stone dungeon, and as long as these doors are locked, all your revolution remains a prison mutiny, to be put down by corrupted fellow prisoners.
And what's the point of a revolution without general copulation? And what's the point of a revolution without
Have you given my letter to Citizen Marat? Let me in. It is vital. I must speak with him about the situation in Caen, where his enemies are gathering to destroy him.
Who is at the door, Simone?
A girl from Caen.
Let her in.
I will name you the names of my heroes, Marat, but I am not betraying them, for I am speaking to a dead man.
Speak more clearly. I can't understand you. Come closer.
I name you the names, Marat, the names of the people who gathered in Caen. I name Barbaroux. I name Brissot. I name Pétion. And I name Bousseau.
Who are you? Come closer.
I am here, Marat, but you cannot see me, for you are already dead.
Boss, take this down. Saturday, the 13th of July, 1793. A call to the people of France.
It's part of Sade's dramatic plan to interrupt the climax, so this man, Marat, can grasp with his dying breath just how the world will go after his death. With a musical history, we'll bring him up to date from the years 1793 to 1808.
Now your enemies fall. We're beheading them all. Duperret and Corday executed in the same old way. Robespierre has to get on. He gets rid of Danton. That was spring, comes July. Now Robespierre has to die. 3 rebellions a year, but we're still a good cheer. Malcontents all have been taught their lesson by the guillotine. There's a shortage of wheat. We're too happy to eat. Austria cracks and then she surrenders to our men. 15 glorious years, 15 glorious years. Years of peace, years of war. Each year better than the year before. 15 glorious, glorious, glorious years. Hurrah, we're marching on. What a brave soldiers we've got. Now the traitors are shot. Generals boldly take power in Paris for the people's sake. Egypt's beaten down flat. Bonaparte did that. Cheer him as they retreat, even though we lose our feet. Bonaparte comes back, gives our rulers a slap. He's the man, brave and true. Bonaparte would die for you. You're the free of chains. Only England remains. But we want wars to cease, so there's 14 months of peace. 15 glorious years, 15 glorious years. Years of peace, years of war. Each year better than the year before. 15 glorious, glorious, glorious years. Hurrah, we're marching on. England must be insane, wants to fight us again. So we march off to war. Bonaparte is our emperor. Nelson follows our fleet, but he's shot off his feet. But we're on top, yes we are, and we spit on Trafalgar. Now the Prussians retreat, Russia faces defeat, and all the world bends its knee to Napoleon and his family. Fight on land and on sea, will all men want to be free? And if they don't, never mind, we'll abolish all mankind. 15 glorious years, 15 glorious years. Years of peace, years of war, each year better than the year before. 15 glorious, glorious, glorious years. Hurrah, we're marching on. Behind Napoleon. 15 glorious years, 15
Monsieur de Sade, per our instruction, just what have you accomplished with this production? Who won? Who lost? We would like to know the meaning of this, your bathhouse show.
Our play's chief aim was to take to bits great propositions and their opposites, see how they work, let them fight it out. The point? To shed some light on our eternal doubt. I've twisted and turned in every way, but I can find no ending to our play. Marat and I both advocated force, but in debate, each took a different course. We both wanted change, but his views and mine on using power never could combine. On the one side, we thought our lives could be improved by axes and knives, for he would submerge in his own imagination, seeking a personal annihilation. Now he's gone. And I'm locked up here. So for me, the final word can never be spoken. I'm left with a question that is eternally open.
And if most have a little, and few have a lot, you can see how much nearer our goals we have got. We can say what we like without favor or fear. And what we can say, we can breathe in your ear. And though we're locked up, we're no longer enslaved, and the honor of France is eternally saved. The useless debate, the political